Hey guys, it's Tony Ferrara from Author's Place. Super excited to be here with you today. We just love getting to know all of you as I spend time with you on the phone, learning about your platforms and the impact you're trying to make. It's just been wonderful. We appreciate the opportunity to be your partner. I'm going to take a few minutes today to do two things. The first thing, I'm going to walk through a story that happened this last month. We had a bit of a disaster, and I want to share it very transparently because I think there's some valuable lessons to be learned about how to build your platform and how to take care of your platform out of the story. And then secondarily to that, there will be a bit of a shameless plug on how we plan to solve the problem. However, I want to not make light of that. I mean, the reality is the lessons are really, really important. If nothing else, listen to the first part because they are critically important. So again, as we talk through this story, I want to be clear. It's going to present us as sort of solving a big problem. We did solve a big problem. However, I want to be very transparent. We helped to create the problem. So while in the story, I'm going to pursue some things that seem heroic, the only reason they're there is because we helped contribute to the problem to begin with. We set our own disaster up. And so I want to be authentic in that. The message of this is not, oh, how great Author's Place is. The message in this is 100%, how do I not end up in this situation? So from the beginning, I want to kind of share that. So what happened was the last week of October on a Monday at about 5 o'clock, I got a phone call from one of our very frantic authors who had an event scheduled for Wednesday with about 50 executives from a financial institution in Canada. And it was a very important meeting. It was a high dollar event. And her books were very much a part of her content. They absolutely 100% had to be there. And on Monday afternoon, the books were not there. In fact, when we investigated, we found out that the books still had not left our partner facility, Ingram, on Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock for an event that was starting on Wednesday morning. And the books were not going to be there. They absolutely were not going to show up. And this, of course, would cause great embarrassment, which is enough of a threshold for me, for our author. But beyond that, it would also cause a lot of logistical problems for the event because the books were part of the content and thereby part of the sale. So it was a real problem that needed to be solved. As I began to look into it, as it relates to flights and so forth, the only solution was for me to literally drive from my home in North Carolina, pick up books at Ingram that would be printed fresh in the morning, and fly them to Calgary. Now, why did I say fresh? Well, that gets us to Ingram's problem and contribution. What happened was, well, let me back up. Let me start from the beginning. One of the first failures, if you will, in this scenario was we received a very late order. When we received the order, we had about 10 days to deliver these books. And that was not really the author's fault. One of the assistants that she has had placed this order about 2 weeks after she had gotten the direction to do so. So that was a failure on their part. However, the failure on our part was we didn't check our work. We did not check our work. What happened was when we called Ingram, of course we have a 24-hour turnaround on print-on-demand books, so we can get them very, very quickly. And normally it's about 5 shipping days, which is not a problem, except in this case, the books are going to Canada. And that presents a whole bunch of logistical issues, and we didn't check. We relied on our partner, which was a failure on our part. We did not check to make sure that we could fulfill the order we took. That was our fault, 100%. It will never happen again. But nonetheless, part of the reason that Ingram is also to blame is they had a bad process. Now, we're all familiar with Ingram. Ingram is a, multi-million-dollar international conglomerate, very big organization with offices around the world, etc. They've got processes. It turns out that on their Canadian orders, when you place an order for Canada with Ingram, they first go by truck to Toronto before getting shipped by plane to wherever they need to go. Why this is important is it turns out that Ingram's vendor doesn't track that product, doesn't track that shipment. So on Monday afternoon, neither Ingram nor the shipper in Canada had any idea where the product was because there was a third party that was doing this journey here by truck, by the way. As a result, there was literally no way these books were going to show up. So the only thing I could do is hop on a plane. Well, first my car, pick up the books, hop on a plane and take them to Calgary on Tuesday. So what happened in Tennessee, when I got the books from Ingram, I made a critical decision, and this is an important lesson that we'll get to in a minute, in that I decided to take the books out of my luggage, the suitcase I had brought in order to put all the books in, and switch them with my personal items in my carry-on. And this was a critical decision because when I was sitting in the tarmac in Tennessee, it turned out that we had mechanical failure. And as a result, I needed to get off the plane and get a different plane and fly to Calgary, which means the books were now with me, but my luggage was who knows where. And my luggage had a very nice trip around the United States over the next 10, 15 days, which I finally did get. But nonetheless, we were able to show up in Calgary with the books and get the books to the author. And again, I want to be clear. The only reason I had to do this was because we failed to check on the front end, right? We didn't do our job. This is not about how great we are. This is about the lessons in this story, and I want to talk through those lessons. The first lesson is this. When you have a critical order that you are dependent on for your platform, make sure you order early, okay? You have got to get your books ordered early. Why? There are multiple systems that create your book shipment. We are not a printer, we are a publisher. What that means is that we produce a distribution channel for your content. That's one thing we do. We also do a lot of other things that you know about, etc. But nonetheless, we are not a printer. That is not what we do. And so as a result, there are multiple systems that need to be relied on in order to get your books to your event on time for your platform. That's really important that you order early. The second lesson in this is do not separate yourself from your critical inventory, right? The decision I made at the airport in Tennessee turned out to be very critical. If you're going to an event where your brand, your mortgage is reliant on you producing and doing a good job, make sure you've got your books with you in the plane, not in the luggage, inside the passenger component of the plane. The third lesson to be learned in this is systems break. It doesn't matter how big of a company you are. Ingram is historically a reliable company. They've been printing books since Gutenberg, pretty much, right? I mean, the reality is they are a reliable organization. However, they have really bad systems. I mean, the fact that they're allowing some truck to pick up boxes of books in Tennessee without tracking and drive them all the way to Toronto without tracking and have this period in here where nobody has any idea where the inventory is or when it will arrive, that is a terrible, terrible system. It doesn't matter how big of an organization your partner is, doesn't matter, systems break. You have got to be prepared for this. Your mortgage depends on it, your college tuition for your kids depends on it, the food on your table depends on it. You have to make sure you are ordering early, you are not separating yourself from the things that matter most to your platform, and thirdly, you understand that systems break and we need to be prepared for that. In this particular case, as I mentioned, I made sure these books showed up on time. It was our fault that this happened, but nonetheless, I made a commitment to our author to get the books there on time, and we did. She had a great event. Everything was wonderful. Nobody knew except her and I and a bunch of people at Ingram who now probably don't like me anymore. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, we definitely honored our word. Can I do this for everybody? Absolutely not. I can't do this for everybody. We'll go broke. I will tell you this. If I give you my word and you rely on my word and you rely on our systems, I will do everything I can to make sure that we do not fail you. 100%. That said, we've created a system, and this is the shameless plug, to make sure that this never happens again. In fact, we had the system in place just before this, and that is our fulfillment services. Our fulfillment services completely avoid this. If you are speaking regularly, if you are doing workshops and conferences and conventions, you need to have books early. Most of you, however, don't want to put books in a garage, right? You don't want to have a pallet of books in your garage. Secondarily to that, you don't want to carry boxes of books on an airplane. That's not comfortable. It's not easy to do. Our fulfillment services take care of all of that incredibly affordably. The first advantage is it allows you to buy books in bulk. We store them, we ship them as needed, we have them early, we make sure that the systems work. You'll never be without your books when you have to have them. And if you put your books in our fulfillment services and this scenario ever happens, I don't care if your event is in Saudi Arabia, I will get there for you. I promise you that. Secondly, the fulfillment services are actually really, really inexpensive. We only charge on a case of books to ship your books to you. It's the shipping cost plus 10%. So on a case of 50 books, let's say it's $50 to ship that in the United States via UPS. We're going to charge you $5 to ship that box for you. What is a $5 cost on an event where you're making thousands to make sure that your books are there on time? That's not a very big cost. In terms of storage, we're only charging 5 cents a month to store your books. Again, on a case of 50 books, you're talking about $2.50 a month. It's not expensive. So what we're trying to do, what we care about, is making sure you don't end up in this scenario because your assistant makes a mistake, because we make a mistake, because the system breaks down. We want to make sure that at every single turn, you are able to produce a professional event for your customers because your platform depends on it, your careers depend on it, your families depend on it. We understand that. And so with that, I just want to really encourage you, if you're speaking regularly, talk to us about our fulfillment services. You get a discount on the books, you save a ton of money there, which pretty much pays for the rest of the fulfillment services. And then we can ensure 100% you will have your books on time every time, because if this ever happens and the books are in our warehouse, I guarantee you I will get on another plane and deliver those books. I promise you that. I don't care if it's 10 books. In this case, it was 50, right? We're not talking about 1,000 books. We're talking about 50 books that we did this. Anyway, I bring this up because I really want to encourage you to make sure that your processes are not disrupted because of problems in the channel. It's really important that we protect what you're building. And we are desperate to help you do that. So thanks for listening. I apologize for the shameless plug, kind of. At the same time, it's a real solution for real problems that really happen. And in the future, if you are dependent on our system and we run into a snafu, I promise you 100% we'll take care of it. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you again next month. And as always, feel free to reach out anytime. I love hearing from you guys.